Evening. It doesn't seem that long ago since playoff finalists Swansea and Reading brought to an end a thrilling N-Power Football League season. But here we are, 2 months on, ready to do it all again. And this time it includes the likes of Birmingham, Blackpool, West Ham, Crawley Town and AFC Wimbledon for what promises to be another intriguing campaign. In fact, 4 of those 5 sides have been in action already, and we'll see how they and everyone else got on in the company of Steve Claridge. So here's what's coming up then in the first Football League show of the season.
They've had a long old wait, but finally Brighton have a place they can call home. And having secured promotion last season, their first league game at the Amex was a championship fixture against Doncaster Rovers. Southampton, of course, came up with Brighton. The Saints were also at home for the first game of the new campaign. The visitors to St Mary's Stadium were Leeds United. There's been the usual managerial merry-go-round since last season, including some old faces, and we'll see how week 1 panned out for the new boys in the hot seat.
And in League 2, a familiar name is back. Just 9 years ago, AFC Wimbledon held player trials here on Wimbledon Common. 5 promotions later, and they're preparing for the visit of Bristol Rovers.
Now, we all know how difficult it is to get on the property ladder these days, but spare a thought for Brighton and Hove Albion. They've been waiting 14 years for a place of their own, but finally, they've got one. After a long, drawn-out saga that included spells at Gillingham and at the Withdean, as well as a complicated judicial process, Brighton are now proud owners of the American Express Community Stadium, or the Amex as it's known. Doncaster Rovers were the visitors for the first league match there, and Martin Fisher was on hand to witness a day of huge significance for the club.
A new season, a new home for Brighton and Hove Albion, the fabulous £105 million Amex Stadium. Packed to the rafters today as the League One champions look to mark the occasion in style against a Doncaster side that only just survived last season. Craig McHale-Smith, Brighton's record signing at £2.5 million, makes his debut. Kasenga Lawalawa is back on loan from Newcastle. Doncaster have lost 7 of their first-team squad to injury already. Naylor, Mason and Spur have all joined. Surprisingly, perhaps, Billy Sharp is still around. Naylor, Dumbaya, in behind Brighton. This looks dangerous, back looking for Sharp, and out by Greer. Oster, Gillette, wants width to his right. Coppinger has it. Coppinger's centre, it'll come out as far as Sharp to clear the crossbar. Coppinger sweeping it across. It was missed by Hayter, and then Sharp pushing it wide of the left-hand post. He would have expected to hit the target there. Oh, that's late by Spur. Calderon not happy about it. The referee reaching into his pocket already. I think it'll just be the yellow, indeed it is. I think it was an honest attempt to get to the ball, but these days you can't jump in like that. Lawalawa in support. Can he get in that penalty area? Hayter has come back a long way to make the challenge. Referee has had a look at it, and I think the card's going to come out for Lawalawa here for trying to win his side a penalty. Well, you can hear what the Brighton fans make of that. You can see what Lawalawa makes of it. Was it a foul? That's the question. He was on the blind side of the referee. Hayter wasn't coming in at the best of angles. I don't think that Gus Poyet is too happy about the referee's work over the last 2 minutes or so. And referee Ilderton coming to the sidelines now to have a word with his assistant on this near side, Robert Whitten, about what is the problem for the Uruguayan Brighton coach. I think it's pretty easy to work that out. And he's been sent up into the stands. Well, not quite the dramatic start that he wanted at the Amex Stadium. 28 minutes into life here, and Gus Poyet is sent up into the stands. Can't escape the attentions of Friend. Loa, tricky. Free kick conceded by Oster. Ironic cheers from the Brighton faithful. And now telling Gus Poyet that he's too close to the field of play, but he's insistent that he can stay there. Calderon's ball in. It'll fall here for Barnes. Flag stays down. Barnes! And away by Friend. Woods managed to take a bit of the sting out of the shot initially. The flag stayed down. It's a good block by Woods, but he needed his captain to be behind him, George Friend. Barnes was strong. Oh, that's a horrible challenge by Naylor. That is an awful challenge by Naylor. It's a yellow card, but he was lunging in, Richard Naylor. Foot was high. He was not in control of that challenge at all. It's all a bit tight in the middle. Vicker's going to lose out. Robbed by Mason. Coppinger is with him. Sharp is there too. Mason goes himself. It might fall for Sharp, and it just about trickles in. Goal given. Billy Sharp, who missed a very good chance earlier on, puts this one away. Joy for the travelling Doncaster Rovers supporters. It had to be Billy Sharp, didn't it? The surging run by Ryan Mason. He fancied his chances. The ricochet was fortunate, and it kissed the post and crosses the line before the last Brighton defender can get his boot to it to clear it. First blood to Doncaster. Are they well cast in the role of party poopers after all? Oster. Sharp. Coming in from behind clumsily, Lewis Dunk. And that hurt. Fifth yellow card of the game. And the referee could not have been better positioned to give that decision. What an awful way for Billy Sharp to start the new season. Applauded off the pitch by his own supporters. Another injury for Sean O'Driscoll to contend with. Sparrow. That's a good flick on. Noon with a chance to level. What an opportunity for the second half sub, Craig Noon. On his favoured left foot. The flick on from Barnes. It's a horrible miscue. Friend couldn't get close, just the keeper to beat, and he's well wide. Awkward for Mikhail Smith. Calderon. Mikhail Smith in behind Friend. Mikhail Smith, good save and away by Dumbaya. It's a very good stop. The visitors here holding a very high line. Bridcut to curl it in. Naylor got a touch to it. Driven towards goal and in the back of the net. What a thumping strike. Will Buckley it was that let rip. And the £1 million man, Will Buckley, who's only just come off the bench, gets the honour of being the first Brighton goal scorer at the Amex. And what a strike it was, beating Woods at his near post on the half volley. The keeper given no chance here, couldn't have been placed better. Bridcut to swing it in. Noon is on the shoulder of Dumbaya. Mikhail Smith! It would have been a wonder strike, this, on the volley. First time. Spur. Doncaster's corner. They're definitely silenced if they steal it again here. It's deep, the header back across. And clearing the crossbar with the volley there was James Hayter. And now he's taken the knock. The whole sea of bodies diving in. He's made contact with the forehead of Calderon there. Well, Sean O'Driscoll has already used his 3 substitutes. If Hayter has to come off, Doncaster will be down to 10 men. New. Oh, lovely feet. Needs to pick the pass, and he might just have done it. It's Buckley, and again, 2-1 Brighton! Will Buckley with the double strike. And deep into injury time, one of Gus Poyet's summer signings does the business. Lovely dribbling feet of Noon, and what a pass, and quite a finish from Will Buckley to open up his body here and guide it in beyond Woods. What particularly was it that disturbed you about the referee's decisions first half?
Well, I think you should show it. I mean, it's not for me to comment or talk about the referee because I already got sent off, and now panels, fines, letters, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if you show the actions, why Lua was on the floor 3 times and why he got booked, it's going to show that it was wrong. Apart from that, it's me. You like me or you don't. You take me how I am, or I go home and I play golf.
Your name will go down as history as the first Brighton goal scorer at the Amex. That must give you great pride.
Yeah, I think everyone was trying to get that, but it's more importantly about the team win today, and that's what we needed, a good start, and we got it.
They certainly did. It's a fairy tale start for Brighton to life in the N-Powered Championship. What an atmosphere there before kick-off.
Well, I mean, we had pictures an hour before they kicked off, and they've been given blue and white flags, and they started waving, and it looked absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, it lived up to all the hype, definitely.
Let's look back at the incident that Gus Poyet is desperate for us to show to the nation. He thinks Kazengaloa was hard done by when he was yellow-carded for a supposed dive, and you have sympathy for him, don't you?
Right, he knows that he's right here. I mean, you've only got to look at this. James Hayter comes on the blind side of Loa, and all he basically does is run into the back of James Hayter. Now, it's not a penalty, no matter what Loa says, but it certainly isn't a dive either, and I think the referee Eddie Elton does get that wrong, and you can understand Gus Poyet's frustration.
As a result, as we saw, Gus Poyet was livid, but thankfully what was a bad start to the day got better.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like that everybody got caught up in the atmosphere a little bit. You can lose an awful lot of nervous energy, on occasions like this, and that's what it looked like up to a point from a Brighton perspective.
But despite that, he had the nous to bring on Will Buckley.
Well, there were 3 main talking points in this game, and obviously one of them from a Brighton perspective was bringing on Will Buckley. He did change the game, turn the game on its head for them. A fantastic strike here. That's a difficult skill, but a great technique. And then this is a fantastic run, and teams can't defend against this because it's players running from deep. No one can run with him. He goes past the centre half, breaks the line, and it's a good finish as well. And he was doing that all season for Watford last year.
Yeah, it was also a day of mixed fortunes for Doncaster Rovers. For Billy Sharp, of course, the first competitive goal scorer at the Amex Stadium. But then it all turned horribly sour for them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to say, early on in the game, Donny Moreland held their own and probably just about deserved to take the lead. But the game turned on its head, as I said, with the substitution for Brighton, and, of course, you've got to take into consideration Billy Sharp gets taken off. You can see his frustration. He's only just come back from a long injury after last year, and at that stage they're 1-0 up, and they are in the game, and they're doing okay. And then, of course, after he goes off, they suffer another blow. James Hayter, and this actually puts them down to 10 men, and that's when Brighton take advantage of that fact and score in the 98th minute and win the game. So they'll feel a little bit hard done by they didn't get the rub of the green.
Sean O'Driscoll must be cursing his luck. I mean, they had a crippling injury list last season. Before this game, they had 7 first-teamers out. Yeah. Add 2 more to the list.
Yeah, I mean, you normally expect to start the season with a fully fit squad, but to have 7 players still injured from last season when you've had 2 or 3 months off is surprising, and that isn't going to help them having another 2 taken off on the stretcher.
Nonetheless, fantastic and dream start for Brighton. Right, well, let's find out what happened to the 2 teams that came up with the Seagulls from League One, Southampton and Peterborough. The Saints had a tough opener at home to Leeds. Jack Cork made his second debut for Southampton, and fellow new signing Steve de Ridder was on the bench. Leeds manager Simon Grayson gave debuts to Michael Brown, Andy Lonergan and Darren O'Day, and a first start for Adam Clayton.
Leeds free kick. Howson, McCormack and Gradle, the three wise men in the middle here. And the strike is from Howson and spooned away by Kelvin Davis. Leeds skipper there with their first strike of the new campaign. Now Dean Hammond for Southampton. And the strike is the first goal back in the division for Southampton. Dean Hammond's first home goal for the Saints for a year and a half. Inside 10 minutes, Southampton have the perfect start. It's a fine strike as well. Hammond here driving on. And the goalkeeper Lonergan on his Leeds debut had no answer to it. And Brian's header. Just drop here for Ricky Lambert for Southampton. Through it goes. What can they do here? They've got a second goal, Southampton. Adam Lallana this time. It is the perfect first 25 minutes for Southampton. Lallana peeled away here. The angle was tight here, acute for him, but he steers the ball off the post into the bottom corner. There's Lallana for Connolly. And another Hammond is arriving at pace here for Connolly to try and find. Now Gooley. Gooley still. Lallana again! Good save by Lonergan this time. Lonergan there denies the Saints a surefire third. It's a good block. Dan Harding has options ahead. Lallana, one of them. There's Lallana, the chance again for a third goal for Southampton. And David Connolly, who was so deadly in pre-season. It's a good combination here. And how about the finish? Southampton simply too strong and in front of goal for Leeds too clinical. David Connolly, who got 3 and 5 at the end of last season, continues that form and his pre-season run in the season's opening game proper. D for Johnny Howson, for Max Gradle, for Howson again. Clayton. Clayton's ball through. Billy Painter here. Billy Painter onside. Davis saves. McCormack follows up. And Leeds score sheet stays blank. Not what he wanted from opening day, is it? Hence the puffing out of the cheeks. One of their better days on the travels today for Leeds. Another good start to life in this season's championship. Snodgrass with a corner. Might break to Max Gradle, who makes space and takes a tumble. And a tumble is all it is. Referee Kevin Wright says no. I think it's more stumble, you know. There was a touch of contact, but not much. Well, the bouncing ball here might favour Gradle now. It'll favour Sam. Painter. Nunez takes over. This is Ramon Nunez! Waiting still for his first Leeds United goal. The Ridder's touch. Ricky Lambert now for Chaplow! He's hit the post. He's still there too, Chaplow. He's gone down. Ask the question. Does the keeper save this? Yes, he does. Super stop. And in the follow-up, no penalty given. Last few seconds, Sam's touchdown here for Adam Clayton. Across comes Martin, and flag's being waved here. Handball, is it? Penalty. Aaron Martin with the arm. Seen there by the assistant referee. Max Gradle comes up and scores. And shatters Kelvin Davis's clean sheet in the process. It's one back, but far too little, far too late for Leeds United.
We've scored 3 very good goals, You know, we've had to compete today. At times we give ourselves our own little problems. We're trying to play too much in the wrong areas at times, but that's the thing we want to do. We want to play football, but we've scored 3 good goals. We've got valuable 3 points. Kick-starts the season, which is great. And we give a poor goal away at the end, which we're all a bit frustrated about.
This time last year, Darren Ferguson was in charge of Preston. He returned to the Championship 12 months later as Peterborough boss, having guided them to promotion via the playoffs last May. Crystal Palace were Peterborough's first opponents, and Palace almost went behind here. Julian Speroni at full stretch to foil Grant McCann. Palace had never won a league game at London Road going into this one. Sean Scannell put the Eagles in front after 33 minutes. Peterborough equalised just before the hour mark. Lee Tomlin's free kick teeing up McCann to level things up. Palace flirted with relegation for much of last season, and this campaign hasn't started too well, as Peterborough came from behind to take the points. David Ball with what proved to be the winner. A perfect beginning to Posh's return to the Championship.
I'm delighted. We've done it before, obviously at a different level. I said that to them at half-time, especially when we're shooting towards our own fans, you know. Seem to suck that ball in the net, but I thought we deserved to win. I thought overall we were the better team.
So Peterborough up and running. In fact, the last time they were in the Championship, I think they failed to win any of their first 8 games. So that will do them the world of good. Yeah, I'm sure that Darren Ferguson would have looked at it and thought, you know, our first home game. It's a side who won 1 in 23 last year away from home. You know, they're the sort of games, if we are to stay in this division, that we need to win, and they've done that. Do you think they will struggle for goals, considering they've got rid of Craig McHale-Smith? Well, you can chuck Aaron McLean into the equation as well. They got rid of him as well halfway through last season. So I don't know. I mean, it's amazing what happens. Teams aren't run on one player. No. You know, if you've got a good side, then it doesn't go that you lose one player and everything falls apart. They'll be fine. Nicky Jose, I suppose they've got. George Boyd is also a class act at London Road. Someone will always come in and take the place. Yeah. Just before Peterborough, we saw Southampton play Leeds, defeat the Ellen Road club with real verve and energy, something you normally associate with clubs that have just come up. Yeah, I mean, we certainly the 3 clubs that came into this division last year did very, very well. There's no doubt about that. Southampton are a big club. I think plenty of times last year when the Premiership wasn't playing, they had the biggest home gates out of everybody. So they'll expect to come up and do well and be competitive. And no reason why they can't be on that evidence. And after what Norwich achieved, fans of Brighton and Southampton will be thinking, why can't they do the same? Yeah, I mean, it's 2 clubs who certainly can punch their weight in the transfer market. As I said, size, stature, infrastructure of both clubs is set up to do well. It's all in place, isn't it? Let's get more from the Championship, shall we? We start our roundup with the teams that came down from the Premier League last season. With West Ham not playing until Sunday, the spotlight fell on Birmingham City and Blackpool. The Tangerines, of course, were in action on Friday night at Hull City.
It is Kenny! Wraps the frame of the goal. Within a whisk of the opening goal of the 2011-2012 season. That's a mistake though, Taylor Fletcher. And Phillips caressed the outside of the goal. Teed up for him by Taylor Fletcher. It hits the outside of the post. And there's no offside, and fired through on goal. And Chilks has blocked him. And Barnby over the bar. What an opportunity for Hull City. And it fell to 2 players on whom you would have expected Hull City to be able to have relied upon. Clark, meanwhile, exchanging passes. And a terrific finish from Taylor Fletcher. And Blackpool at last take the lead. And Taylor Fletcher, who scored the first goal of the Premier League campaign for Blackpool last season, scores the first goal of the Empowered Championship campaign this time around. It was a thumping strike. It's Hull City 0, it's Blackpool 1, and are the points destined for the visitors? One more chance maybe. Well, they've got Manova, Simpson, oh, he's put it over. Blackpool Court Square, jilts in no man's land, and Simpson high and well over the top.
We scored a goal and they didn't. If they'd have got the first goal, it could have been them. They've been buzzing in pre-season. Goals are vital. We got one, and I'm delighted we kept a clean sheet.
For us tonight, it should have been worst case scenario, a draw. Yeah. You know, but you know, we've come unstuck tonight. It's a good finish, to be fair, but you know, having seen the goal again, there's aspects of it that I'm not too pleased about. But having said all of that, of course, we've still created plenty of chances. Should have won the game.
Chris Hughton's first competitive match in charge of Birmingham City saw the Blues travel to Nigel Clough's derby. The Rams hoping to secure maximum points on the opening weekend of the season for the third year running. The visitors' bid to secure an immediate return to the Premier League looked to be in good shape early on. Liam Ridgewell a whisker away from the opener. And with 19 minutes played, Birmingham moved in front. Former Aston Villa man Curtis Davis on hand to open Birmingham's championship account after 2 seasons in the top division. With 9 signings, Nigel Clough has reshaped his team over the summer, and it was one of those new arrivals who equalised, Jason Shackle with the header. Buoyed by the equaliser, Derby turned the match in their favour just before half-time. The Blues' defence gave Steve Davis way too much time and space. 2-1 to Derby now. Derby ended last season with 4 successive league defeats, but there were no signs of that poor form here. Jamie Ward heading against the woodwork soon after the break. Desperate to avoid an opening day defeat, Chris Hughton's side went in search of a late equaliser, and they almost got it. Chris Burke going close, Stephen Carr firing into the stands. Derby's first win over Birmingham since 1995.
It's going to be a long season, this one, with a lot of good teams to play, and if we can take that same energy, that same enthusiasm, same determination into the next games, then I'm sure we'll pick up results.
There was no need for a brolly for the new manager at the City Ground. It never exactly rains goals for Forest on the opening day. 5 years since they scored in their first match of the season. Barnsley have a new manager of their own. Keith Hill's side might well have taken the lead, but debutant striker Craig Davies couldn't convert Jacob Butterfield's free kick. Forest should have put an end to their opening day jinx. Lewis McGugan was presented with a great chance after Luke Steele saved from Paul Anderson, but the midfielder couldn't finish, and McLaren's men had to settle for a draw.
We just lacked it in the final third. And, you know, at the end of the day, what's a football match about? It's what you do in your box to keep a clean sheet and the other box to win the game. We succeeded at one, failed at the other.
Another former England manager was on show at the Ricoh Arena. Coventry against Sven-Göran Eriksson's Leicester was an early kick-off for what has become something of a grudge match recently. And it didn't take long for the bad feeling to surface. Just 10 minutes had been played when Darius Vassell lunged at Richard Keogh. And the former England striker received the first red card of the new Football League season. The Sky Blues looked to make the most of their one-man advantage. David Bell tried his luck from distance, but New Fox's keeper Kasper Schmeichel was equal to it. The last 4 meetings between these sides had ended in draws, and the teams were level in terms of dismissals before the break. Carl Baker made that challenge on Richie Wellens, and referee Darren Deadman, or should that be Redman, sent Baker off. Sven-Göran Eriksson has been collecting new players this summer. 7 of the 10 new signings made their debuts in this game, including David Nugent, who almost put the visitors in front. The first of those purchases was Lee Peltier, and the former Huddersfield defender showed exactly why Eriksson was so keen to sign him. A winning start for one of the big favourites for promotion.
Yeah, very difficult game. Local derby and Coventry, they're moving around the ball very good. Technically good team, and we have to chase a lot when they have the ball. But at the end we won, and of course I'm happy. Very happy.
I felt we let them off the hook today because, you know, when they went to 10 men, well, even at 11 I felt we controlled the game. When they went to 10, even more so. But that's a lesson we got to learn. I mean, we dominated the game, and then through lack of professionalism we let them back into it. But we dealt with that in the dressing room, and it won't happen again.
Millwall began their league campaign away from home for the 5th season on the trot. They travelled to the Madejski Stadium, where they haven't won for over a decade. Their hosts were looking to quickly shake off the hangover of defeat in last year's playoff final. So much for old friends. Former Reading duo James Henry and Darius Henderson combined, the latter heading in on his debut, having signed from Sheffield United. Brian McDermott's side responded positively. Shane Long, a reported target for West Ham, going close to levelling things up. The Duchess of Cambridge is a Reading fan, but it was the Marquis of Millwall, John Marquis, who doubled the visitors' advantage after Adam Federici failed to cut out Liam Trotter's cross. The Royals immediately went on the offensive, Joby McAnuff thumping the woodwork with this effort. To the names David Fairclough, Ronnie Rosenthal and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can be added that of Matteo Montse as super sub. The Frenchman unleashed a rocket shot to give Reading hope with 4 minutes to go. And 3 minutes later he was at it again to complete the Reading recovery as he headed in Jimmy Kebe's perfect cross to ruin Millwall's day.
Another team would have thought that was it really, not our day, but to be fair, give credit to the players, they kept going and showed fantastic resilience.
Probably if you'd offered me a draw at the Madejski at the start of the week I might have taken it, but after being 2-0 up and looking like we're in a good position with not much time on the clock, we're disappointed not to see it out.
Sean Dyche's first competitive match as Watford boss. They travelled to Turf Moor to face Burnley. This a tricky first fixture for the Championship's only rookie manager, as last season the Lancashire club had done the double over the visitors. The Hornets are now without last season's top scorer Danny Graham. That didn't seem to matter on the stroke of half-time. Craig Forsyth with a goal on his debut following his summer move from Dundee. And Watford doubled their advantage midway through the second half. Mark Yates celebrating his debut for the visitors following his move from Sheffield United. With an opening day defeat staring them in the face, the Clarets rallied, and with 13 minutes left it was 2-1. Charlie Austin with the final touch from Keith Tracy's shot. Eddie Howe's men completed their comeback 6 minutes from time, Tracy marking his Burnley debut in perfect fashion. Sean Dyche denied a dream start to his Watford reign.
To come up here, very experienced side, some very good players for Burnley, and we feel we've got some ourselves. So to come up here, take the game to them, as we did for a large part of it. We knew they'd try and create chances because they play very open, and we knew we might have to weather periods of that, and unfortunately just at the end we just couldn't quite see the game out.
Really good fight back, 2-0 down with 20 minutes to go. It was always going to be difficult, but Keith came on and gave us real impetus, and the lads kept fighting for each other, and we were really pleased with the point.
Portsmouth have started the last 2 seasons disastrously. Last time round they didn't record a win until their 8th league game. They started this one with their long trip to Middlesbrough. Borough boss Tony Mowbray tied Marvin Emnes to a new 3-year contract on Thursday and told him he expected more goals. After 24 minutes, he got one, the Dutch striker finishing in some style. An already thin Portsmouth squad saw more departures during the summer. In fact, Steve Cotterill only named 4 substitutes, but they did manage to prize David Norris from Ipswich, and he levelled for his new team just after the break. 7 minutes later, though, Middlesbrough were ahead again, as Nicky Bailey threaded the ball through to Rhys Williams. The Australian had time and space to score his 4th goal for the club. Borough back in front, and a painful 310-mile trip home loomed for those who had travelled up from the south coast, until the ball dropped to Luke Varney 2 minutes into injury time, and he made no mistake.
It was a good, entertaining game, I felt. I don't know quite how many people were here today, but for sure it was an entertaining game, full of goals. What the Championship's all about, really.
I think we played against a team today with a lot of players 6'3", 6'4", and the longer the game went on, if they felt they had a chance, it was going to come in our box. And you know, we suffered that a few times last year, as I say, and we did again today.
Bristol City won just one of their first 11 Championship games last season. Keith Millen looking for a better start this year in his first full season in charge. Visitors Ipswich have been busy in the transfer market over the summer. They may have lost teenage sensation Connor Wickham, but he's been replaced by a guaranteed performer at this level, Michael Chopra, putting Town ahead. City will be hoping that Nicky Maynard can stay injury-free this season. He showed his eye for goal after the break, but that one didn't count. Maynard ruled offside. Ipswich have a strong recent record against the Robins. They hadn't lost in their last 6 meetings, and they went further ahead in this one thanks to Lee Martin. City suffered a 3-0 home defeat to Millwall in their opener last year, and they conceded a third in this one. Jamal Campbell-Rice and David James can share the blame. Chopra again doing the damage to make it a debut to remember and a flying start for Paul Jewell's side.
Everyone spoke this week in the papers about how tough this league is, and it's a real tough league. Every game is a test. Bristol City, decent team, and today was our day.
It's the worst possible start, really. The manner of defeat really is hard to accept. We give 3 bad goals away.
Yeah, great start for Ipswich Town. They showed signs of progress, of course, under Paul Jewell at the end of last season. They've been tagged as dark horses for promotion. Is that the way you see it, Steve?
Oh, I think they're real live wires, I do honestly. They brought 7 in. I think they've gone down the route of paying decent wages, but these players are tried and tested at this level, and I see that good form continuing, and I would expect them to be there or thereabouts this year.
As for the teams that have come down, well, we saw Blackpool beat Hull on Friday night. Birmingham came unstuck against a pretty spirited Derby side, it has to be said. It's a bit tricky. We're not quite sure what we're going to get from the Blues this season, considering their situation at board level.
Well, I don't think anyone can pinpoint what sort of season they're going to have until we get to the end of August. The problem being is obviously that we don't quite know who's going to stay and who's going to go, and I think Chris Hughton will look to get this month out of the way as quickly as possible and settle things down. Great
goal for Stephen Davis for Derby. They needed a good start under Nigel Clough, and they certainly got one. As for Reading, they blew away all talk of a playoff hangover, didn't they, thanks to their super sub.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the situation where I've lost playoff games, and you say it can affect you the start of the next season. But no, it's deja vu, wasn't it? They give themselves a mountain to climb in these games, as they did in the playoff final, and somehow managed to get themselves out of a sticky situation. And Mr. Montset comes on, and looks like it was a tough start when he went to Reading at first, but it's a big ask coming from Hereford, but he looks like he's learning the game, and all of a sudden now there's an end product to his play.
And talking of the leading runners for promotion, Leicester up there alongside West Ham. They've won out the chequebook, haven't they? But they need the players to gel. They got off to a winning start, so it's a great start for Sven. But that's what everyone's expecting.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. When we talk about players to gel, look, if you put players in their right positions, then they'll play well. It's not a case of getting people to gel. I think that was a little bit of a problem last year. It was almost a scattergun approach, whereas this year it looks a little bit more measured. And obviously, myself, being an ex-Leicester boy, you're looking at them having a good year. They've got to have a good year. There's no doubt about that. I think Sven knows that, but he can cope with that sort of pressure.
No room for failure. Right, let's take a look at League One then, shall we, which includes Scunthorpe, Preston and Sheffield United, who, of course, all came down from the Championship. United, of course, joining their city neighbours Sheffield Wednesday in what should again be a hugely competitive league. The Blades opened their League One account at Oldham.
Just the start Danny Wilson needed after his controversial appointment in the summer. 18-year-old Harry Maguire crashed in Stephen Quinn's corner as the Blaze began life in League One on a high at Boundary Park. Wilson's arrival was hardly popular given his ties to city rivals Sheffield Wednesday, but maybe his critics will revise their opinion after a comfortable display. Former Latics striker Chris Porter sent Quinn on his way, who delivered the perfect cross for Richard Creswell.
After they scored, we lost our discipline a little bit. The players 3 or 4 of their heads went, and our team shape, which was good leading up to that, went. And you know, they've got some good experienced players, and they capitalised on it.
With 18 goals in Colchester's last 3 season openers, the U's are usually a good watch on opening day. This year they stuck 4 past much fancied Preston. Anthony Wordsworth grabbed the first with 12 minutes gone. Ian Henderson finished last season with 5 goals in 6 games. He picked up where he left off just after half-time, doubling the U's lead after some lax Preston defending. Neil Mellor is back at Deepdale this season. The veteran striker instigated a short-lived Preston comeback on the hour mark when he finished from Graham Alexander's pass. But 5 minutes later, Colchester's 2-goal cushion was restored. Henderson celebrating his second after the Preston defence went AWOL. But Phil Brown's men still weren't done. Paul Coote set up an exciting last 20 minutes when he claimed the goal of the game to make it 3-2. But it was all in vain. Kayode Odijayi's close-range finish confirmed the points, and another memorable start to the season for Colchester.
We've beaten a very good team today, and you know, like any sort of game in our level, it could have gone differently. But we've managed to find 4 goals, I say, against a good side that I would still back to be in that top 2 or 3 in this division come the end, because they've got some very good strikers, and you know, we've managed to just pinch it today a little bit and get ourselves back on the road. But I'm really pleased with the way we've gone about it.
James Tunnicliffe didn't score at all last season for Bristol Rovers, but having made the summer switch to Adams Park, he opened his Wanderers account on debut. Newly relegated Scunthorpe hit back before the break. The Michaels combined, O'Connor cross for Nelson to head home. It was an entertaining match with plenty of chances at either end, and chairboys Gareth Ainsworth clipped the post with a volley. Tempers threatened to boil over when Ben Strevens threw himself into a challenge with the Irons' Sam Togwell. After the dust had settled, Strevens was shown a second yellow card by referee Steve Rushton, who after a little trouble eventually found the red. With time running out, Scunthorpe pushed on and thought they'd nick 3 points, but Chris Dagnall's late header was ruled out for offside. So honours even as it finished 1-1.
A somewhat rare treat for Tranmere, who've had their fair share of first-day disappointments in recent years. Robbie Weir's first senior goal helped buck the trend against newly promoted Chesterfield. Another throw almost led to a second, Andy Robinson and Adam McGurk combining to set up Lucas Akins. But despite the miss, a result that Les Parry described as perfect.
Having fallen at the final hurdle last season, are Huddersfield still nursing a playoff hangover? The Terriers turned in a lethargic display against Bury and got lucky when Mark Cullen was denied what looked a clear penalty. The tide seemed to be turning in the second half. Gary Roberts gave Huddersfield the lead when he converted from substitute Lee Novak's cross. But that served only to inspire Bury. Tremendous away form paved the way for their promotion from League Two. The Shakers soon began to boss things. David Worrell was denied an equaliser, and captain Peter Clark cleared off the goal line. Bury's best bit of business this summer may well have been hanging on to Ryan Lowe. The League Two player of the season got 28 goals last year. His first of this campaign was enough for a point.
We could have been better with the ball and without the ball, but credit to Bury, they've come and done a good job on us, but we weren't great.
Stevenage built their success last season on being hard to beat at the Lameck Stadium. That looks likely to continue this term as Graham Wesley's side earned a point against Exeter. In a match where chances were at a premium, the home side nearly took the lead when Scott Laird delivered a ball that Richard Duffy nearly put through his own net. The Grecians nearly won it in the second half. Reading loanee Nicholas Bignell had plenty of time and space, but in the end his finish lacked composure. So Stevenage start life in League One with a 0-0 draw.
At this rate, Charlton will be asking to face Bournemouth at the start of next season too. Having seen them off on day one last term, the London club inflicted the heaviest defeat of Lee Bradbury's reign. Bradley Wright-Phillips setting up Dale Stevens on his debut to put Chris Powell's men on course for a comfortable win. That goal had them ahead at the break, and shortly after it, Charlton doubled their lead in spectacular fashion. Scott Wagstaff's fabulous volley left their South Coast opponents well and truly floored. After reaching the playoffs last term, Bournemouth will be expected to be challenging again this time round, and hopes of a recovery were raised as Mark Pugh wriggled his way forward. Danny Ings also arrived on the scene, but failed to score against the team rumoured to want him. And it got worse for Bradbury's men 13 minutes from time, when Adam Barrett clipped the shins of Wright-Phillips. Johnny Jackson did the necessary from the spot. Not hard to see why Charlton are one of the promotion favourites.
Promotion hopefuls MK Dons were left to curse their luck at home to Hartlepool. A deflected effort from Daniel Power that rattled the woodwork was the first sign that it wouldn't be the Dons' day. Carl Robinson's side dominated possession but found themselves behind on 20 minutes. Adam Boyd's far post header coming entirely against the run of play. A period of pressure at the start of the second half paid off for last season's playoff semi-finalists. Luke Chadwick curling the Dons level. With the visitors under the cosh, Mick Wadsworth threw on substitute James Poole. 3 minutes later, his goal looked like giving Hartlepool their first ever win at Stadium MK. But Poole were denied victory right at the death. 91 minutes were showing when Jabo Ibire somehow finished off Jay O'Shea's deflected cross. Hartlepool hard done by, but their luck held afterwards when Andy Durso saw nothing wrong in Neil Austin's challenge on Stephen Gleeson.
Walsall narrowly escaped relegation last term, but manager Dean Smith will be hoping for more this season. He's reshaped the squad in the summer, and one of his new signings made an immediate impact. Adam Chambers punished his former employers, who released him in May with this stunning effort. Orient just missed out on the playoffs last term, and once again the expectation is for them to do well. They created the two best chances of the second half. Jimmy Smith latched onto a deep cross, but Sadler's keeper James Walker made a good save. Striker Smith thought he'd earned his side a point when his header looked to be looping in, but once again Walker proved to be his nemesis.
A tough assignment for new Rochdale boss Steve Eyre in the grand surroundings of Hillsborough. Wednesday skipper Rob Jones got Wednesday off to a flyer after a whopping throw from Julian Bennett. After being dominated in the first half, the Lancashire club found some confidence after the restart. Ashley Grimes, so prolific for Lincoln last season, almost levelled the scores, but the post came to Wednesday's rescue. Down the other end, the Owls rattled the woodwork too. Lewis Buxton inches away from stretching the advantage. But Gary Megson's men have found a knack of winning at home again. This latest success was their 5th victory in 6 matches at Hillsborough, sealed in thunderous fashion by David Prutton.
We know that Rob will score goals from set pieces. David, we've spoken to all our players and Samido, saying that whatever you may have done in the past, you are expected to chip in, and certainly it's a fantastic goal by David Prutton, right in front of the Kop on his first full debut at Hillsborough. So he's set himself a standard now that we'll look for him to attain more and more.
Uwe Rosler was given a helping hand in his first league game in charge of Brentford. The Bees were awarded a 30th minute penalty when Shalliam Logan's cross struck the arm of a clearly furious Nathan Jones. Gary Alexander was successful from the spot. Rosler has promised to bring attractive attacking football to Griffin Park. The signs were good as the Bees eased to victory. The second half saw a debut goal for Logan. Released by Rosler's former club Manchester City, a bobbler from the fullback settled matters late on.
Notts County striker Lee Hughes has a habit for grabbing the headlines for both right and wrong reasons. He played a big part in the Magpies' first, having knocked over Carlisle defender Peter Murphy. He looped the ball to the far post for new signing Jeff Hughes to tap home. A debut goal for the former Bristol Rovers man for the travelling fans to enjoy. The goal, though, was hotly contested by the home side, who felt Murphy was fouled in the build-up. County's second came via the cultured left foot of Alan Sheehan. Cumbrian's Francois Zoko headed into his own goal. Hughes made it 3 before the break. Tom Taiwo left his back pass short, and the 35-year-old needed no second invitation to score his 50th in county colours. It was a bad-tempered affair, and when Murphy and Hughes clashed again in the second half, referee Gary Sutton spotted the infraction and this time called a halt to the proceedings with the defender laid out. The yellow card was the player's final act in the match as he was substituted with 22 minutes still to play. That, though, was little consolation for Carlisle boss Greg Abbott.
Not a bad result for Notts County, considering they had a lack of strikers in the build-up to that game. But what they need more than most, I suppose, Steve, more than just 3 points on the opening day, is stability at that football club.
Yeah, and I think they've probably got it now. You know, Martin steadied the ship last year, made sure they were all right. They've started very well. I know they'll be very well organised. They'll have had a tough pre-season, and he's obviously got them very, very ready for whatever's coming.
It's fair to say Danny Wilson ruffled a few feathers in Sheffield at his arrival at Bramall Lane. He needs to get the fans on side as soon as possible, and nothing like 3 points to do that.
Yeah, that's a good thing about football. Things can change very, very quickly. You know, someone's perception of you, a couple of decent results, and all of a sudden, you know, you're everyone's kettle of fish. So, I don't think there'll be a major problem with that as long as he gets the results.
And he'll need kids like Harry Maguire to step up to the plate, and Jordan Slew. Nothing like a goal from one of his kids. As for Charlton, huge changes on and off the pitch. 15 new signings made by Chris Powell. It's fair to say he's stamping his mark on that side.
Well, I mean, he took over last year, and I think he was able to take those 2 or 3 months to look and see what was good enough and what wasn't. I mean, it wasn't an auspicious season for them by any stretch of the imagination, and he knows that they needed to be a lot better this year. As you say, massive changes, but I'm impressed with some of the signings he's made, and I expect them to really to punch their weight at this level this year.
And a great finish by Scott Wagstaff there. As for Preston, they've come down. They want a swift return to the Championship, of course. Nightmare start for Phil Brown's men, because Colchester got an away win, which they couldn't buy last season.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Preston last year was that they were difficult to play against and difficult to beat, and yet, you wouldn't have put a side that couldn't buy a win away from home. They found it very, very difficult to win on their travels. Scoring 4 against them, particularly at Deepdale, but that's the way it worked out, and as I say, if Colchester can turn that away form round, they won't be far away.
Big Football League welcome, incidentally, to the new Brentford manager, Uwe Rosler. We know he's played for Germany, and of course for Manchester City. There's a real feel-good factor around that football club at the minute, but he needs to temper expectation. Well, I mean,
they've been given a degree of latitude in the transfer market, been very, very active. 1 or 2 clubs have, and things. That's when the manager does his work, and that's when he puts the things in place to have a good season. And you get the feeling that might be the case with Brentford.
Should mention also that terrific point for Bury away to the favourites Huddersfield. It was a great effort from them. On to League Two now, and when AFC Wimbledon won a dramatic penalty shootout in the Blue Square Premier Playoff final in May, it signalled a return to the league for one of English football's most familiar names of recent years. And the latest stage of an incredible rebirth down in southwest London. Sounds like the perfect story then for Mark Clemmit to kick off his Football League season.
The AFC Wimbledon story is a pretty remarkable one. Formed as recently as 2002, their creation came when the FA sanctioned Wimbledon FC's relocation 54 miles up the road to Milton Keynes. Those Wimbledon fans who opposed the move, and believe me, there were quite a few, reacted by forming their own club, AFC Wimbledon. Describe the feelings running amongst the supporters when the FA did sanction that move to Milton Keynes.
a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, really. But a lot of it was, a real empty feeling in your stomach. What are we going to do now? We can't go up there to watch football. That's ridiculous. And it wouldn't be Wimbledon anyway.
Underground, overground, wumbling free. The wumbles of Wimbledon, common are we.
They were humble beginnings, to say the least, for AFC. For a start, they didn't have any players, so jumpers for goalposts and all that. They held trials here on Wimbledon Common. God, he's no good, don't sign him. And as a new club, they had to start at the bottom and work their way up. Their first game was in the Combined Counties League. They then moved their way through the Isthmian Leagues, then the 2 conference divisions. Just 9 years and 5 promotions later, AFC Wimbledon are in the Football League.
Wumbles are organised, work as a team. Wumbles are tidy and wumbles are clean.
We've been doing the Football League show for 2 years now. I don't think I've ever had to use an umbrella. What does that tell you?
Well, I can see you're hardly prepared for the rain, but... These boys here behind me have created history by getting us in the Football League, and I've got utter faith and utter belief that this group of lads can take us to another level, if not this year, within the next 3 years.
What are you serving, Nikki?
Chinese.
Chinese?
The generation that we're talking about.
What's about
18 years old, look at the state of them.
We never try to emulate the crazy game. It couldn't be a one-off anomaly. You can't be that again. That was brilliant for that time, and I think, as Laurie Sanchez said, it's time now for AFC Wimbledon to create their own history, and we're starting to do that.
So you stand on the terraces and watch as a fan of the old Wimbledon when they get relegated out of the Premier League, and now you're going to be playing the first game back in the Football League for AFC.
Yeah.
I mean, your story's every bit as strong as the club itself.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride to get to this point, but no, it'll be a massive honour.
Oh dear.
The team spirit's definitely there. I mean, that was what the old Wimbledon was built upon, really. So we're looking to carry that on. If we can get that half right, then we'll be halfway there.
You'll be absolutely tingling as you walk out against Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome day. I mean, it's big enough walking out sort of in my first Football League game without all the I don't know, the stigma and everything around the game and the media sort of attention with it. It's going to be a hell of a day, really. Yeah.
Just as they did in the late 70s, the Dons walked out in white to mark their return to the Football League, but a new-look Bristol Rovers side arrived determined to spoil the party. Ricky Wellard appeared to be suffering from first-day jitters, and that gave Rovers skipper Matt Gill the chance to roll in Scott McLeish. The perfect start for new boss Paul Buckle, whose starting lineup included 10 new faces. These two were separated by 2 divisions last season, and 3 minutes later they were separated by 2 goals. McLeish showing another side to his game, first staying on his feet and then charging for the box. Don's keeper Seb Brown denied him a second, but the former Leyton Orient striker kept his composure to set up another new recruit, Matt Harrold. Plenty for Don's boss Terry Brown to consider as half-time approached, but 6 minutes before the break, a fabulous header from captain Jamie Stewart revived hopes of a comeback, and the newcomers came out for the second half with a point to prove. Now, the crazy gang days may have been consigned to history, but it seems some habits are harder to break. Route 1 the favoured option as they pushed for an equaliser. Substitute Charles Adamino in the right place at the right time to send the Kingsmeadow crowd into overdrive. But hopes of a fairy tale ending disappeared with just 5 minutes left on the clock. Referee Keith Stroud singling out Brett Johnson for handball. Hard to tell at first glance, but after a second viewing, proof the decision was the right one. Adam Virgo slammed home from the spot to ruin the Dons' big day. Some hard work lies ahead for them, but Rovers' quest for a quick return to League One is up and running.
It was a fantastic game, and we're delighted to win it in the end. Wimbledon might feel a bit aggrieved they didn't take a point, but I think on chances created and the tempo we played at, we did deserve to win it in the end, and it was a wonderful day for us.
Our draw would have been great, but I don't think we really deserved it. Credit to Paul Buckle's team, I thought they deserved a win today. We didn't create enough chances. We looked susceptible to balls in our box. We committed suicide on all 3 goals, and I'm going to have nightmares watching them tonight.
So an opening defeat for the Dons, but an emotional day nonetheless for all concerned at Kings Meadow. Well, here's what happened elsewhere in League Two. Starting with the team that came up with the Dons, Crawley Town, and their first ever game in the Football League was an away trip to Port Vale.
Despite promotion from the conference last season, Crawley have already been installed as one of the favourites for promotion. Manager Steve Evans has had money to spend in the close season, and one of those signings, Tyrone Barnett, opened the scoring. The former Macclesfield striker etched his name into the history books with Crawley's first goal in the Football League. Mickey Adams' side responded quickly. Mark Richards took the responsibility from this free kick, and he converted to bring his side back level. But the League Two new boys were not to be put off their task. Sergio Torres centred for former Sheffield United youngster Kyle McFadzean to come through the melee and thunder home his header. Defender John Dempster will count himself a little unfortunate to be facing a ban. He picked up 2 bookings in 3 minutes, the second for this innocuous challenge on Sean Rigg. So 14 minutes to play. Could the new boys hang on for a famous victory? With time ticking down, the home side threw everything at Crawley and eventually made the extra man pay. Rigg's stoppage time shot was parried and Lewis Dodd slid home the loose ball to earn Mickey Adams' men a share of the spoils.
We don't think we've had the rub of the green at all today, but I think we've played some super football. I think when people say we're Grace League 2, we might not win it and we might not make the playoffs, but the quality of how we try and play is important and we're trying to get it down and pass it.
After 2 successive relegations and beset by financial problems, just starting the season is an achievement for Plymouth. A young Pilgrims side fell behind at Shrewsbury thanks to James Collins' 69th minute opener. Peter Reid's rookies have an average age of just 23, even with veteran Carl Fletcher in the side. The captain's sweet strike ensured a deserved and morale-boosting point for Argyle.
Excitement and interest in equal measure at the county ground to witness Paolo Di Canio take his first steps into football management. What they saw was a Swindon performance as sharp as one of his Italian suits, but it took them until the stroke of half-time to break the deadlock. Billy Bowden went in pursuit of Rafael De Vita's through ball, but was dumped to the turf by David Artell. Callum Kennedy swept home from the spot to get the new era off to a positive start. Known for his theatrics and clowning around as a player, Di Canio's warned his team not to try anything similar, but it appears he's allowed certain exceptions. Oliver Reese's stunning volley is one that the Italian himself would have been proud of. Swindon 2-0 up just past the hour. And a comfortable afternoon's work was rounded off by Aidan Flint, who topped off a fine individual display with the third 13 minutes from the end to give his new boss a memorable debut in the dugout, who, despite banning laughter from the training ground, should be able to smile tonight.
Listen, we're happy that we won, obviously, but now you put yourself in trouble because everybody now look at you or wait for you. If you are good enough, I'm sure that they're good enough to handle the situation, we will have a business in the future.
All the action in this one came in the second half. It was the visitors Dagenham and Redbridge who opened the scoring. Mehdi Alito nipped in on the line after Mark Arbour headed the free kick goal bound. Arbour extremely happy with his part in the goal. Macclesfield went close themselves at the other end. Ben Tomlinson's technique was perfect, but Daggers Chris Lewington was equal to it. A long ball downfield should have been easy to deal with for Dagenham, but after a miscommunication, Lewington was adjudged to have handled outside the area and was then sent off. Despite being reduced to 10 men, John Still's men hung on to open up the new campaign with a win.
Last season's surprise package, Accrington Stanley, are looking for an improvement on the road this season. Charlie Barnett's free kick was their highlight of a solid if unspectacular showing at Sixfields. Having flirted with relegation last season, Northampton boss Gary Johnson is under even more pressure to improve matters. The closest the Cobblers came was when Jake Robinson's goal-bound effort was cleared by Kern Miller. Northampton have now managed just 2 wins in 21 league games.
You can always rely on the English Riviera to provide some opening day sunshine. Maybe the heat got to Torquay's defenders as Justin Richards powered his way through to fire Burton into a second half lead. The striker, who racked up 14 goals for Port Vale last season, was soon celebrating his second for his new club. The vision of John McGrath sent Tom Parks scampering clear. His cross put Joe Osler in trouble, and Richards did the rest. He's good with his feet too. It's now down to Martin Ling to pick up the pieces after last season's playoff defeat, and just shy of the hour, summer signing René Howe provided the spark for a fight back. And the Devon club stretched their unbeaten run of first day fixtures to 10 matches with 9 minutes left. A peach of a through ball from Ewan O'Kane, finished off by captain Lee Mansell. Burton boss Paul Pesca-Solido admitted afterwards that a draw left a bitter taste in his mouth, probably not helped by the late dismissal of Tom Clark. His late lunge on Howe led to the inevitable. A point apiece at Plainmoor.
These two sides met on the opening day of last season, where they shared the points in a 1-1 draw. The Gills went one better this time. Joe Martin surged forward to centre the ball, and after Jack Payne's effort was blocked, Lewis Montrose slotted home to give Andy Hesenthaler's side a 26-minute lead. And it was the home side who nearly doubled their advantage as they took control of the game. Former Peterborough midfielder Charlie Lee's long-range effort nearly beat Cheltenham goalkeeper Scott Brown, who made an awkward-looking save. The one blot on the Kent-sized copybook came 8 minutes from time when substitute Luke Rooney was dismissed for a rash challenge on Brian Schmeichel. Referee Lee Collins had no hesitation in showing Rooney a straight red card. The sending off, though, had little impact on the game as Gillingham ran out comfortable victors.
There were plenty of new faces on show at the Don Valley Stadium, but some enjoyed better fortune than others. Michael Dewberry endured a moment to forget on his first Oxford appearance. He failed to find the net after Asa Hall had struck the woodwork. Lewis Grabban was one of 5 Rotherham players to be handed a league debut. Having followed manager Andy Scott north from Brentford, Grabban's spectacular effort made it a merry start for the Millers. It might have been even better for the new boy. Ryan Clark's late stop denying Grabban an opening day brace. 9th last year, automatic promotion is the aim this time around for Rotherham.
The omens didn't look good for Hereford, who were hoping to avoid a 10th consecutive defeat against Southend, who thrashed them 4-0 in their last meeting back in March. It was a much tighter affair this time round, despite falling behind inside the first 15 minutes. A well-worked move saw Ryan Hall's cross met by Bilal Mojni, the makeshift striker heading past the helpless Adam Bartlett. Paul Sturrock's men ramped up the pressure in the second half. Jean-Paul Kalala almost setting up summer recruit Neil Harris for a debut goal. But the veteran striker was kept off the scoresheet by Joe Colbeck's goal line clearance. And he was left even further frustrated when Bartlett saved at his feet. No matter, still a winning start.
Peter Jackson's now in charge of Bradford permanently after returning to the club on an interim basis in February. But he'll have plenty to think about after coming across an Aldershot side who lost just one of their last 9 to finish the season, and that was at Bradford in April. The Shots took the lead when Alex Rodman found space to pick out Danny Hilton. He converted from close range. And it was Rodman who was a constant threat in the Bantams side. He was then instrumental in the visitors' second. His cross caused complete confusion in the Bantams area. Robbie Threlfall got the unfortunate final touch. That kind of defending will give Jackson, a former centre-half, real cause for concern. The West Yorkshire side were better in the second half. They managed a late consolation. Lee Bullock found James Hansen, who did well to nod home.
On a day where AFC Wimbledon were making headlines, original Crazy Gang member Laurie Sanchez was also pulling off a minor miracle. Barnet only won on the road 4 times last season, but claimed an opening day win at Morecambe. They rode their luck though, Nick Fenton blazing over early on. But Barnet finished the game the stronger of the two sides. Only a fine save from Barry Roach prevented Mark Marshall from giving the Bees the lead. Barnet's first opening day win in 7 attempts was confirmed by Mark Byrne. An early contender for Goal of the Month was the perfect way for the youngster to mark his permanent move to North London.
Yeah, Laurie Sanchez will be delighted with that winning start by his team, and they're going to have to defy the odds, aren't they, this season to stay up in the Football League, Steve?
Well, I think you come under the umbrella of maybe first brief will always be to stay in the league, and after that, you know, we build on what we've got. And I don't think they'll settle for staying in the league. I think their ambitions will be a little bit higher than that. And who knows? I mean, they've had good years at Barnet in the Football League, so there's no reason why they can't have another.
As for the favourites to get out of the division, it's not often you see teams come in from the conference and are immediately labelled as favourites to get out. And as for Crawley, I mean, they were denied their opening day win right at the death by Port Vale.
Well, they had some notable scalps last year, didn't they? Yeah. Football League clubs. I went down to Torquay actually to watch them play down there, and they were very, very good. So no reason why they can't more than cope at this level. And that's a difficult place to go, Vale Park, and that's a good result, even though they conceded late on in the game.
Crawley are up there amongst the bookies, thinking alongside the likes of Swindon Town, under the stewardship now, of course, of Paolo Di Canio. 12 players in at the county ground, a Namibian, an Algerian. He's got them all working for him. It could be interesting times at Swindon.
It could. I mean, there are quite a few Football League clubs that we've spoken about that have been able to bring in a lot of players, and so far, you know, a lot of those clubs have had good results today. And you know, I think we all thought that Swindon, you know, when you employ someone like that, I think you know that you've got to give them a couple of bob to spend, and they've done that, and so far so good.
Do you think they can go up with the first attempt?
Look, it's very, very early. I mean, you know, people have got to bed down, and you've got to see if he can do the job or not. You know, certainly on that performance alone, they'll expect to be there or thereabouts. Yeah.
OK, now, I know the league season is only 90 minutes old, but we're going to show you the league tables nonetheless, because there'll be a few fans out there who want to savour the moment, so to speak. It's a great start for Paolo Di Canio, as we've just mentioned, in management after that home win over Crewe. New boys and pre-season favourites Crawley couldn't quite hold out for that win, and it wasn't a dream start that AFC Wimbledon fans were hoping for after losing out to Bristol Rovers. Crewe are propping up the rest of the Football League, and they'll be looking, of course, to bounce back as soon as possible. In League One, well, there were convincing 3-0 victories for Charlton and Notts County, who meet next weekend, as it happens, at Meadow Lane, and a great away win for Colchester against recently relegated Preston. Well, none of the newly promoted sides from League Two could manage wins, although 3 of them were held to draws. 8 teams are looking for their first points of the season. In the Championship, well, Ipswich are top, and a great start too for the new boys, Southampton, Brighton and Peterborough, all of them recording home wins. While at the other end, it wasn't the start that Bristol City and Leeds wanted. And remember, West Ham take on Cardiff at Upton Park on Sunday. Now, don't forget, this season, as always, you can watch the show back again a variety of ways. It's on Freeview until 10 to 6 Sunday morning, and on the red button until midday. Otherwise, it's on the iPlayer all week. And for extensive match highlights from the Football League, just go to the BBC Sport website. Right, we're back on Wednesday night with highlights of the first round of the Carling Cup. And join us for the best of next Saturday's Football League games at 11:35, right after the first match of the day of the season, of course. Steve, thanks very much for your company tonight. Well, that's it then for the opening Saturday of the season. 35 games gone, only the 1,636 to go. We'll see you on Wednesday. Good night.